Hey guys, OJ Albani here, bringing you guys yet another Draft League movie. Today we're going to be going over yet another Smogon draft tournament, this time the third low-tier tournament that they've done. I've done this tournament in the past twice. I believe last year I didn't upload it because I didn't do very good in it, to be honest with you, but I remember in Smogon Low-Tier 1, I believe we made top 32, losing to Gypsy King in top 32, which was pretty cool. I really enjoy low-tier draft, as you guys can probably tell from, us running the LTM as our own low-tier like tournament and things like that. So obviously I played in this one. I think I had a pretty cool team, pretty cool run. I want to go ahead and showcase that to you guys today. So if you guys do enjoy today's Pokemon Draft League battles, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy Draft League content, this is probably the best place for you to be. I really do implore you to hit that sub button. Helps me out a ton. Helps me push towards my end goal of 10K subscribers. Now, with that being said, I do want to really quick just go over the team that we drafted. Not super in depth. This isn't going to be like a crazy long team builder or anything like that. But I do want to kind of show you guys what we're rocking with, just so you can kind of, have a little bit of background knowledge and context going into each of the battles. Then we'll jump at each of the battles. So going into it, the board for Smogon Low Tier was a little bit more reduced in power than our LTM board. We allowed a lot more things in LTM to kind of spice it up a little bit, whereas the Smogon board was a little bit more conservative, not to like a crazy degree, right? Like it wasn't super low tier, but something I think they definitely missed on was this Okie Dokie. They had, like, for example, probably our best Pokemon in LTM is Terragalade. Incredible Pokemon. They had Galade itself on its own up at 19 points, max points with like Gardevoir. But then they also had Terra Okie Dokie allowed at, I think it was 17 with Terra or 18 with Terra, which I think is crazy because I think Terra Okie Dokie is debatably broken in the expanded board that we had. And it comes along to me. I think I was like picked 3 or 4 in my pool, and it was still sitting there. So of course I snagged it up. You guys will see when we play this thing in playoffs in LTM here this weekend on Sunday, this guy is a demon in this format. I mean, naturally strong, ridiculously strong, in fact. With the great dual stab combo alongside Toxic Chain giving you a 30% chance to poison. Guard Dog is a cool niche ability. We'll use it a couple times in this video, actually, which is pretty cool. But on top of that, really nice bulk. Physical tank out the wazoo. With an AV, it becomes very specially bulky, and those bulk up Spadef sets are honestly so centralizing and very difficult for a lot of teams to beat. So I wanted to try and build around it myself, kind of build an offense team around Okie Dokie and letting it thrive. And I think a Pokemon that is really good on those team styles, especially in this format, and also has a great defensive type in its own right, it's going to be Klefki. It's been a while since I drafted Klefki, but the Prankster Spikes, the Prankster Screens in particular, were really alluring when it came to Okie Dokie. And even that Prankster T-Wave, right? If I'm running a really offensive, like adamant choice band Okie Dokie, being able to outspeed things is going to be key. So Klefki provides me a little bit of that speed control, some screens, and some spikes. Pretty simple stuff. Speaking of speed, though, you do want natural speed. Like, you very much so want natural speed. So I ended up grabbing Inteleon next. I think this Pokemon is pretty solid. A lot of the speed that we have in LTM wasn't allowed here, / was picked up really early in the first 2 rounds. So while I do think this is a little bit early for an Inteleon, it was the only speed option that I really liked left on the board. So I kind of bid on it a little bit early, but I think we got a couple other Pokemon later that should have gone earlier. So I'm honestly completely fine with that. Whether it be Torrent with just like regular spec sets or like Sniper alongside Snipe Shot, this guy hits very hard with 125 special attack. It's a very solid U-turn pivot too, forces very specific switch-ins, and say like the normal water resists are going to be things like grass types. Being able to U-turn, get an Okie Dokie or other members on our team, which you'll see here soon, is actually really nice. It's a good offensive facilitator in that regard. So I think Inteleon's pretty darn strong, really fast, and I think that speed option is really needed in low tier, and there's not as many of them. It's needed in Draft League in general, but there's not as many of them. I wanted to secure and make sure we got one right here. Now, 4th is a Pokemon I think should have gone earlier. I think it's a Pokemon that gets way too much flack, even in low tier, which I think is pretty crazy, and I love it on this team in particular, and that's going to be Kleavor. Now, it's not going to be running Swarm, its regular ability, it's going to be running Sharpness. Now, it gives us our first Stealth Rocker, which I do want more, don't worry, but Stone Axe being a damaging Stealth Rock move is really strong, provided you can hit. But what I really like about Kleavor is that U-turn ability. I kind of wanted to build this team around like momentum offense with hazards, setting up endgames for Okie Dokie, and I think Kleavor is a great Pokemon at that, right? First, let's think of like the core between Inteleon and Kleavor. I think they're very strong together. They kind of beat down each other's checks. Again, we talked about Inteleon really struggling with like bulky grasses, things of the sort. Kleavor, not so much, right? A lot of fat steels don't really appreciate Inteleon, which is great, but a lot of fat steels really don't appreciate Okie Dokie, which is awesome. I think finding free entry points for these big offensive pieces is really important, really nice, and I think that the momentum core of Inteleon Kleavor is very good at doing so, and really good at facilitating Okie Dokie, to be completely honest with you. So I really do like these together. This Pokemon is really, really strong when it can hit its moves. Stone X, U-Turn, X Scissor, and Close Combat. I am a firm believer of just running Scarf on this thing. Like 90% of the time, it's an incredible Scarfer. Great speed tier for a Scarfer as well. And I like having solid Scarfers as well. I think it's a very important role that most teams should have. Next up, we have Brambleghast. What I liked about Brambleghast here is it gave me more spikes, which is like okay, but mostly it gave me rapid spin. And I don't want to be plagued by hazards, right? We have something like Kleavor, we have something like Inteleon. These Pokemon are pivoting in, pivoting out, blah, blah, blah. And we could draw some defog for that and get that away, but then I'm defogging away my own spikes that I'm likely setting up with Klefki or maybe even this Brambleghast, right? Whereas Brambleghast is a really solid spinner in the sense it's decently fast to base 90 for this format specifically. It's hard to spin block it with Ghost because you switch on a Poltergeist, you're just going to die. So that's obviously really nice. It's really strong in its own right too. Some fun immunities in Wind Rider, but Infiltrator is also really great, being able to hit through screens. So if we're playing like opposing Klefkis, things like that, teams want to set up screens in those hyper offense options, we have an option for that as well. So I'm really big on Brambleghast. I don't like its defensive allocation. It's like our ground resist so far, which isn't great because it doesn't really resist anything. But we do get a great piece for that next. And Mesprit. And this is another Pokemon I think went way too late. Mesprit is so unbelievably good in any format, but especially low tier. One, it gives another rocker, which is great. We don't have to just rely on Kleavor setting up rocks with Stone Axe. If we really need rocks, we can run, quote unquote double rocks with Mesprit plus Kleavor clicking Stone Axe. That's great. It's another great U-turn pivot. It's another great Healing Wish Pokemon too. And I guess not another great, we don't have one yet. But it's a great Healing Wish Pokemon too. Pokemon like Kleavor, Pokemon like Inteleon can be used early to break through teams and then be brought right back with a nice clean Healing Wish, which I really, really do appreciate. And even Okidogi, right? If I want to use a more offensive Okidogi variant, we can use it to break for itself and then get Mesprit to get it right back. So pretty awesome. Next up, we needed a ground type. So we got our ground type and Rhydon. I really wish I could have Terra'd this guy. We're just out of budget from being able to do so, but a really, really great Pokemon with an Eviolite, incredibly, incredibly bulky, reliable Stealth Rocker. It's a flying resist, which I know I'm double rock right now, but they don't really like function very similarly. So Rhydon is going to give me that like rock like defensive typing that Kleavor doesn't really do so. So again, resisting flying in Little Cup is, or in Little Cup, in low tier is obviously a really, really nice thing because flying is one of the best offensive typings. Having something like our Rhydon is going to be really nice in doing so. So, yeah, it takes a little bit of pressure off Klefki in that regard. And then gives another rocker, gives a ground type, gives an electric immunity, all that stuff. All the stuff that our bulky ground is typically going to do for a draft. And lastly, we did get a second Terramon and a really fun one at that in Zangoose. This guy with a Toxic Boost and a Toxic Orb is so unbelievably strong with its Facade, plus Quick Attack, and then either Knockoff, Close Combat. We can SD up. It gets all the Elemental Punches. Great coverage. Very, very frail. But again, 90 speed is not bad for this format. So great, great offensive breaker. Again, that Pokemon like Kleavor and Inteleon and Mesprit can really, really facilitate with their awesome momentum capabilities. So definitely a much more offensive team. Not much of a defensive backbone. We have like screens and Mesprit basically to kind of hold this team together till it wins. We're going to win fast or we're going to lose fast. And that's kind of the idea with this one. I think this team's pretty fun. And yeah, let's jump into our first pools game. Alrighty, our first pools game is going to be against Static Latios here. They have a pretty terrifying squad here with a Gardevoir, Terra Hisui Gudra, Tauros, Blaze, Paldea, Mudsdale, Electros, and Cinccino. So lots of big threats. Let's see really quickly what we decided to bring in this battle. First up is going to be an Assault Vest Brambleghast. This is going to be typically our lead in this game. Really strong offensively, to be honest with you. The combination of Ghost plus Grass is really powerful into this squad. Assault Vest is just to let us take one hit from things like Gardevoir, one hit from things like Gudra, put a lot of damage on them, which is obviously very, very nice. And again, it's kind of more so just a general blanket item. I didn't figure I needed much else beyond this. And I like the ability to take one from Gardevoir, pivot him once to Gardevoir, threaten it out with a Poltergeist if it's not Scarf, or Sneak if it is Scarf and, a little bit weakened. So I like the set. Then we have a Spikes Klefki. We are Max Spadef is going to be our main Gardevoir check. Dazzling Gleam, Spikes, Thunderwave, and Fairy Lock. Fairy Lock is a very, very interesting move. If I'm in a position where I feel like I need to sack off Klefki, I've gotten my Spikes, I've done what I need to do. What I can do is, as I sack off Klefki, right, say to a Tauros Paldea Blaze, I sack off Klefki and I click Fairy Lock. What Fairy Lock does is on the next turn, it prevents all Pokemon from switching. So I can very easily go into something else on my team, whether it be Inteleon, Kleavor, whatever it may be, and get a guaranteed revenge kill on whatever it is I need to KO. Whether it be something like Gardevoir, which I don't expect to happen as much, or something like Gudra, right? If I want to guarantee trap Gudra and chip it down or get it kill with, something else on my team, I think Fairy Lock is a cool option for that. I didn't really feel like I needed screens in this battle, so the Fairy Lock tech is pretty darn cool. And we have a Scarf Kleavor. I said it before, I'll say it again. I'm going to run Scarf every game. Stone Axe, X is their close combat and U-turn. Close combat is for Gudra. And while it does seem like this is a pretty tough matchup for Kleavor, because there are two great checks, Gudra Hisui as well as Mudsdale. Do check it very well. Beyond that, though, Kleavor looks very, very strong with the Scarf. It is a Scarfer that is faster than Gardevoir, which I do love a lot, as a team that is a little bit weak to Scarf Gardevoir, to be honest with you. And again, if I can chip down these things, whether it be with like Fairy Lock trapping like a Mudsdale trying to, you know, revenge us, or forcing chip on things like Gudra, things like that, we're in a good spot. Neither of those Pokemon can recover, and unless they're healing wishing up with their guard, they're not getting back up to full. So I like that aspect. Then a choice band, Okie Dokie. Close combat, Terra Blast, Gunk Shot, and Poison Gem. We are Terra Ghost in this battle. Really, really like Terra Ghost in this battle. There's not much in means of a Ghost resist on the opposing side. So clicking Terra Blast is pretty darn spammable. The only immunity is going to be something like Cinccino. Kind of hard to switch in Cinccino. Close combat, very, very powerful in this matchup as well. Does a ton of damage to a ton of things. Poison Jab and Gunk Shot also pretty strong depending on what's out. You know, there's definitely a ton of different options that we can go for. And we have a Mesprit, pretty simple Mesprit. This is Max Fizz Def. It is here to check the Tauros Paldea, Psychic, Knockoff, U-turn, and Healing Wish. Getting a second Kleavor, getting a second Okie Dokie, or getting a second Inteleon, which we'll talk about last, is always going to be nice. Knockoff to remove items. Things like Gudra are pretty easy to switch in, so that's obviously very, very nice. And U-turn to maintain momentum and initiative. Then lastly, we have a loaded dice SD Inteleon. That's pretty cool. Again, if we're going for the means of like a Kleavor Scarf endgame, one, we need to kill Mudsdale. Makes sense. But two, we really need to take out that Gudra Hisui. A great way of forcing in Gudra and forcing a ton of damage on it is sending in Inteleon, because my opponent does not have an answer to Inteleon otherwise, like just a spec set or just like a 4-attack special set. But being SD loaded dice, Icicle Spear, 5 hits is a 2-hit KO on Gudra. If I'm at full, I can take a lot of hits from Gudra from full, so I can like SD, Spear, and then get off like a Torrent +2 Jet onto something if it's like a Scarf faster, or just win the game. It is naturally faster than my opponent's whole team. I think this SD Inteleon is pretty fun. It bare minimum should force chip on Gudra, if not do really well in its own right, if we can find the opportunities to Sword Stance. So yeah, that's going to be the squad for this game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the battle itself. Now, like I said before, I'm going to leave Brambleghast, they're going to leave Tauros. You won't be able to see it on the side though. They are going to be Terra Ghost on the Gudra. So good things to know. They're going to lead Tauros. A little bit unfortunate, but I do have my pivot Mesprit early, so I was fine with this lead. This does show to be Uber Choice Band, doing 61%. Now, thankfully, due to the Citrus Berry, we do live a second hit very comfortably. And in my mind, they probably don't want to sack this thing off. This is just a certified KO into my team. So I decided to throw off a knockoff right here, catch the Gudra coming in. Unfortunately, I do get that play incorrect. I could have just Psychic knocked this thing out, but knocking off its band is also going to be nice. Bringing it down to 40% after all the recoil it takes, and then it's going to Raging Bull pick me off. I'm going to go to Kleavor. They can switch out into Mudsdale if they would like. I have initial pivots and things like Brambleghast, which can be nice. I really want my Rock Step though. I want to chip down this team. The only means of removal is going to be Cinccino, which isn't the greatest in the world. So I do Stone Axe, but they end up actually staying in and just sacking off their Tauros to me, which is great because now I don't have to worry about it at all anymore. Wasn't super like privy to why they wanted to sack off a Tauros so bad, but I'll take it. I'm going to Brambleghast. I want to keep Roxaway on my side. I do have my Kleavor in the back. They do show the Lash out here. I'm able to get off a power-up, and even at +1, it does do a lot of damage to this Mudsdale. And they like to not get a Rocks again, which is great, because now I'm going to be able to go out and revenge it. Again, this is one of those positions where I'm like, okay, this still does soft check things like Kleavor. It is a Stone Axe resist. I'm thinking they might want to save this thing. And go hard on either Gudra. So I set up a Sword Stance. I think I do force this out with like a Surf, potentially just KOing it. And Gudra's pretty free on that. So I do decide to set up an SD. My opponent is going to make a very aggressive play though, and they're going to get right. They're going to Earthquake. Thankfully, not KOing us, which is really scary. Now, I will say though, we are at +2 and in Torrent. I did have to Sword Dance there, by the way. Liquidation just didn't kill otherwise, so it was kind of a play regardless I was going to make. But I figured I could make it because I thought they'd switch. They didn't, but I don't actually end up getting punished. I actually end up being put in a pretty good position because I'm going to be able to knock out this Mudsdale. It's just a KO him, whatever wants to come in. Gudra Hisui is going to come out because it's the only thing that takes a hit. We actually OHKO literally everything else at +2. I'm just going to take this opportunity to get my chip off, though. After 5 hits, going down to 38% is incredible value from Inteleon. Next up, I am going to go on to Okie Dokie. Remember, this is Terra Ghost, so I can't just freely close combat as much as I'd like to. But what I can do is I can Terra Ghost and Terra Blast. Covers them terraing into a ghost type themselves. I think Hard Cinchino is a very, very difficult play to make, and nothing really takes Terra Ghost, Terra Blast. So I am just going to go ahead and click the button. Terra Ghost, as they Terra Ghost themselves, we do outspeed, and we do just knock it out. Crit doesn't matter. We're adamant choice band, Okie Dokie. So I think we were fine regardless. Or Jolly choice band. Then out comes Electros, and this is a pretty cool interaction. I know it literally says this in the ability description, but I only think of Guard Dog as like anti-intimidate. It gives you +1, right? But it also prevents phasing. I didn't know this, neither did my opponent, but I look like a genius right now. As we get the Guard Dog to pop, we take little to no damage, don't have to take any electric move as it goes down there. Now, they are going to be able to determine now, off of the damage they did with that first Terra Blast, that I am choice band Okie Dokie indeed. So they can go pretty freely into Cinchino. I do have to switch out, like I just have to. But I can make the play into Kleavor pretty comfortably. I don't need this thing per se anymore, because I do still have my Kleavor in the back to check that Gardevoir. I'm going to go ahead and Thunderwave this thing as just click knockoff, getting rid of my leftovers. Then I'm going to go hard Kleavor. The reason I go hard Kleavor is because if they attack, I live any one hit. If they tidy up at +2, but parrot, I will outspeed because I am Scarf Kleavor. So pretty darn safe play. If they didn't tidy up, then they would have been outspent by my Okie Dokie. I'm just going to X-Scissor and knock them out from full. Now, Gardevoir can come out. I kill offensive Gardevoirs very comfortably. This is not an offensive Gardevoir. It's a very bulky one with Will-O-Wisp. But again, we'll take that because we are just Scarf. We're just going to 2-hit KO. There's nothing left in the back, so it's a pretty darn safe one. And we're able to take home a dub here. And again, Kleavor really showing its worth, right? They have Goodra and Mudsdale, and Kleavor was still able to pick up 3 kills in this battle. 3 kills, so pretty darn good. If I had to say so myself, I think this guy's doing pretty darn well, so definitely here for it. That's our first game of pool, so let's jump on to the second. Alright, game 2 in our pool is up against Rai. Rai is probably one of the better Draft League players that I've played. I've played him multiple times in the past. I don't believe I've actually ever beaten Rai. I'm not 100% sure, but great player. Has been around the scene for a very, very long time. It's always exciting getting to play really great players in random one-off tours like this, right? Like, this isn't a DPL, DCL, but it's cool to, you know, get to test your stuff against a really solid player like Rai. He has a pretty fun team, kind of the flying spam approach of Terra, Hisuian, Braviary, which I think is one of the best Pokemon that the Smogon Tour definitely allowed. Staraptor, which is a big problem as always. Sneasel, definitely scary. Tinkaton, great utility mod, very annoying in this matchup in particular. Tentacruel and Donphan. So double spin, which is a little bit unfortunate considering our team is a little hazard stacky approach. But hey, not the biggest deal in the world. I definitely think we have the squad to potentially beat him in this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the team we're going with. We have an Assault Vest Okie Dokie. I really do struggle with the Hisuian Braviary. I really like Terra Electric because it's allowing me to like resist hurricanes, things of the sorts. With an AV, I'll take like Psychic moves neutrally pretty well. We are Close Combat, Thunder Punch, Knockoff, and Gunk Shot. Another benefit to Terra Electric is it's going to allow us to resist Brave Bird, which is pretty spammable into our team at the moment. Then we have our Kleavor here, which is Choice Scarf, again, Sharpness, Stone Axe, X-Scissor, U-Turn, Close Combat. Besides the Tinkaton, not much of this team really actually loves taking this on. Adamant X-Scissor is really strong. Pokemon like the Donphan, while they are very physically defensive, don't really love taking that hit, so I think it's pretty darn free. Getting up Rocks is obviously great for the likes of Staraptor, things of the sort, so definitely a solid bond for sure. Then we have a Fizdef, Rocky Helmet, Klefki. We are rocking out with Dazzling Gleam, Thunderwave, Spikes, and Psyshock. Psyshock for things like Tentacruel, obviously doing a ton of damage to it, trying to come in and spin away our Spikes. It's like Psyshock plus Helmet's going to do a ton of damage to that. We have Thunderwave to slow things down, lots of very fast, scary threats in the opposing types, so that's great. And Dazzling Gleam. It's going to be our main Staraptor check. It's also a very soft check for the likes of Sneasel, which is great. And we have a Colberberry Brambleghast, Colberberry being nice for things like Knockoff Donphan, as well as a Tinkaton, things like that. Very strong Pokemon in this matchup with Power Whip, Poltergeist, Shadow Sneak, and Rapid Spin. Outside of Staraptor, he actually just does not have a switch of the staff. It's not like Staraptor likes taking Adamant Power Whip at all, so really like that aspect of it. I think Brambleghast is pretty darn strong here. And we have Zangoose coming off the bench. It's Terra Normal this week. I don't expect to want to Terra Normal, but we do have the option to. Facade, Swords Dance, Quick Attack, and Fire Punch. Fire Punch is to blow up the Tinkaton, and other than that, Adamant, Toxic Boost, boosted Facade is going to do a ton of damage to Rise Team. A ton. I also like the Quick Attack insurance into the likes of like Braviary and Staraptor and things of the sort. And lastly, we have Mesprit here. It is a Scarf offensive set this time with Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Turn, and Healing Rush. Like this is a general initial pivot into a ton. I wish I could fit Dazzling Gleam, but I felt like Shadow Ball was a little bit more important for the likes of the Braviary. But then we have U-Turn and Healing Wish. Healing Wish just to get another life on something like our AV Okidogi, which I expect to take a ton of damage. Maybe even our Kleavor with its Rocky Helmet, being able to check both, maybe a Staraptor and a Sneasel if we have two of them, right? So that's obviously really nice. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. We see on Terra Preview that he is going to be Terra Psychic on the Braviary, which makes sense. I don't have switches to Terra Psychic. I don't actually have a Dark type. So, yeah, makes sense, right? We're going to see a Staraptor lead into my Kleavor lead. I'm completely fine with this. We do force this thing out. He shows, like, to pretty much guarantee be Scarf, or not guarantee be Scarf. It is Scarf guaranteed because we were Scarf ourselves if they wanted to stay in. Pretty aggressive play. I do just end up with a U-turn here. I could have Stone Axed and got up my rocks, but I feel as if he can very comfortably spin into my team with the double spin that he has, whereas I cannot very comfortably, like, deal with rocks on my side, I guess is another way of putting it. So I am going to U-turn. I don't want to switch into Tinkaton. I'm going to get to my Zangoose, and this might seem counterintuitive because I do, it does resist my Facade. It's the only thing that does resist my Facade. But because of that, I think he's very likely to have to stay in and take an Adamant Fire Punch to the face. If he's a very bulky Tinkaton, we will outspeed it and, do a ton of damage that way. If it's very fast, we're going to do a ton of damage to our Fire Punch ready to kill, or Fire Punch into Quick Attack. So I am just going to go ahead and click Fire Punch. They do elect to get up their Stealth Rock here. We do 82%, which is obviously very, very nice. And this next turn, I am going to click Quick Attack, knock out the Tinkaton. Very, very nice here. Next up, we have Staraptor come out. We're going to just go hard Kleavor again. Forcing Helmet Chip on this thing is kind of the way I beat it. To be completely honest with you, 33% is a lot. It does take a little bit of recoil. We want rocks up on our side, which will be really nice. I do like to get up a spike on the Tentacruel coming in. I'm going to Thunder Wave it this turn. I like Thunder Waving a lot in case it's faster than something like my Zangoose, faster than something like my Brambleghast, whatever it may be. And from there, I can kind of Psyshock and keep this thing low, whatever it may be, but they end up critting me, knocking my Kleavor. Hindsight, maybe not the smartest sack in the world because Pokemon like Sneasel and Staraptor just got so much more scary. Now, obviously, crit is unfortunate. I kind of planned on Healing Wishing it up with Mesprit later, but now I don't really have that option anymore. Regardless, I'm going to go to Brambleghast. I don't want rocks on my side. It basically makes my Kleavor useless. I know I can spin into Power Whip and do a ton of damage to whatever wants to come in. Something like Staraptor does not want to switch in on a Power Whip. It just doesn't. So being able to do a ton of damage is great. I also prevent him from spinning away my Spike right here, which is great. 25% on the Rapid Spin is a ton of damage. We're going to get rid of these rocks, get Ice Beamed, and get crit again. And Terra Tentacruel just killed two of our Pokemon. So this game is not looking great for us up to this point. I am forced to kind of go out into Zangoose and be a little aggressive on this turn. I do SD up so that Donphan can't just come in and wall me. Maybe it is just better to Facade in that instance. Who knows? Not the end of the world. We are going to save this because this is definitely a Healing Wish target potentially here in a second. As Ice Shard is going to come out from the Sneasel as I do Healing Wish. Not showing to be banded though, despite not being boots. This is going to SD up. Unfortunately, that means I have to use this on Kleavor, or I will literally lose the game. I'm going to go ahead and X-Scissor, knock out the Sneasel. The reason I X-Scissor there instead of Stone Axing is because I don't want Donphan to come out and be a nuisance in that regard. I don't have a switch into Donphan per se, whereas X-Scissor kind of deters that. I know I can take one from any non-rock move Donphan and X-Scissor to it, KO it down potentially, depending on its set. So I figured that was a little bit better. Regardless, it doesn't end up mattering, as he's just going to be able to Brave Bird, pick off my Zangoose. I'm going to get onto my Okidogi right here. Donphan's going to come out, making a big solid play here, and I'm just going to go ahead and click Close Combat, do a decent bit of damage, 38%. And with the poison, it's actually going to be really, really nice. Not quite enough to knock it out with another Close Combat, so we did pivot out to Kleavor, as they do unfortunately show to be Resto Chesto in this game. So I'm going to X-Scissor here, do as much damage as possible. 37% is actually really, really nice damage. They do show Earthquake, and they're going to pivot out into the Staraptor, unfortunately kind of taking away my way of winning with Okidogi here, as the Donphan is going to be able to take a Close Combat after Spike pretty comfortably. I'm going to make the hard Okidogi play, as I think really my only way of winning is knocking out this Staraptor and winning with Scarf on my Kleavor. Unfortunately, we're not able to do so. We knock off the Braviary. If we were Terra Dark, we would have gotten the KO there. Unfortunately, we don't. In this instance, we're going to go ahead and knock off again, as we do live both. It was Choice Spec, so makes sense, obviously. Brave Bird is going to pick me off here, and then we're just going to die to another Brave Bird. So definitely an unlucky one. I think I probably could have just not sacked my Kleavor and been in a lot better of a position, but obviously pretty unlucky there with the double crit from the Tentacruel. Definitely a tough one, but hey, that's life. It's Pokemon. Shit happens. We just gotta win our next game to make it on to Bulls. Already our third game of pools, and we're going up against Nick, not Nicholas. He's someone who's actually played a ton in OGDL. He's been a viewer of the channel for a long time, so it's pretty cool being able to play a viewer, someone I've seen in OGDL in the past too. I believe he's actually playing this season as well, which is pretty darn cool. But he has a pretty scary team here with the likes of Brambleghast, the Taurus Paleo plays, which is another one which is really scary, Terra Diancie, Terra Kilowattrel, and Empoleon and Mudsdale. So lots of big issues. In particular, the Kilowattrel is very scary for our team. Our main check to this thing would be like a Rhydon, but the fact that it can Terra just means there's no reason for me to ever bring it. Because it can just Terra Water, Terra Grass, and kill me dead. Probably Terra Water in this matchup, to be completely honest with you. But let's show off the team that we have. First up, we have an Inteleon, which is going to be choice specs here. Surf, Hydro Pump, U-Turn, Ice Beam. I'm sure you saw outside of the Empoleon, you really does struggle with this Pokemon. So I like that aspect of it a lot. I can kind of U-turn around on the Empoleon, really keep up the pressure. And getting chip on Empoleon is great for the likes of Kleavor, another Pokemon he doesn't deal with super well outside of the Mudsdale. So the U-turn core of Kleavor and Inteleon, hopefully going to put him work this game. We're the same set that we've been in other games, but this time we get to be adamant, which is really nice. So next up, we have Brambleghast. We're going to be Colbur Berry this time. Poltergeist, Rapid Spin, Power Up, and Sneak. I wanted to have Colbur Berry for Lash Out on the Mudsdale. It's going to be the main thing I'm going to be spinning on. It's very hard for him to go into his own Bramble to block spin. He definitely can try to, but I think it's a little tough. We have Power Whip and Poltergeist for our main kind of stab options here. Next up, we have Okie Dokie. We're once again Terra Electric, but we're bulk ups at this time. We're very offensive, but pretty darn bulky. Terra Electric weakness policy set. We are guard dog in this game for 1, be intimidating the Tauros, but 2, to block any type of roar shenanigans from Mudsdale, from Empoleon, things of the sort. And with Terra Electric, we can bulk up and honestly 1v1 Mudsdale pretty easy. If we bulk up on a switch in, bulk up again, get Earthquaked for very little damage. +4 does a ton. We get like all of our health back, if not killing some Mudsdale variants. After we get our weakness policy and get up to +4, which is really nice. I love Terra Electric in this game in particular as another means of dealing with Kilowattrel. That's a big issue for our squad. There's a high horsepower there because I believe he had a Muck on the bench and I wanted to not be walled by it. So yeah. Then we have a Citrus Berry and Mesprit. We are once again max Fizdef. This is here to check the Taurus Paleo Blaze, which I do not answer conventionally very well. Thunderbolt is a great means of chipping down the likes of the Empoleon on the switch-in, because it can be very annoying. But yeah, just Psychic U-Turn healing is key. Then lastly, we have a Spadef Klefki. Once again, Fairy Lock is Dazzling Gleam, Spikes, Thunder Wave, and Fairy Lock. So get up Spikes, 2-wave some stuff down, Fairy Lock something, and get a revenge kill with the likes of Inteleon and Kleavor, as they can do so pretty darn comfortably. Alrighty, let's go ahead and peep the game. Jump right in. We are going to see a Diancie lead into our Brambleghast lead. This is going to be Terra Ghost Diancie, as well as Terra Water on the Kilowattrel. Turn 1, I am going to Poltergeist. 1, because I thought they would either Terra to avoid their weakness to Power Whip, or switch out immediately into the likes of Tauros in order to avoid getting hit with a strong Power Up. Unfortunately, my opponent reads me like a fiddle, decides to not do either, takes a decent chunk of damage. So we see that it's Chesto Berry here. It gets off a very strong Diamond Storm. At this point, I know I need to get off damage, so I'm just going to go ahead and Power Up as they do Spike here. And thankfully, we get a nice couple rolls here, 35 and 33, and are able to knock it out with 2 more Power Whips. Out comes Kilowattrel. I'm going to pivot Klefki. We are Spadef to take on flying moves from this guy. Brave Bird does come out right here, so showing mixed for the Wind Rider, which definitely makes sense here. I got blown up by like Thunderbolt though at that point. So Discharge is going to come out. I get up 1 Spike. I'm going to get up another one right here. As yet another Discharge does pop. I'm going to try and get up a 3rd one. Might as well. Why not? I can always prevent 1 spin bare minimum, which is obviously very nice. I'm going to go ahead and click Fairy Lock on the Mudsdale right here. Try and get up my 3rd Spike as they do click Curse. And again, this time I'm like, okay, well, I'll just Fairy Lock again and be able to revenge it with my Inteleon. Fortunately, I do get paired, but it ends up not mattering, as you'll see, too much, because I am going to go into Inteleon right here. I thought about Hydro Pumping because this screamed Pasho in this matchup, but if I missed, I literally lost the game. There's no way out for me to win this video game from here if I miss this Surf. So I am just going to go ahead and click Surf. I know I'll still do a ton because I am Specs. Don't quite knock it out, as it is going to pick me off with an Earthquake at +1, which makes a lot of sense. But thankfully from here, I will be able to revenge it. So not the greatest start, but we are still 4-4, and I have a double hazard advantage. I have triple hazards up on the opposing side. We see the Empoleon switches in, and it's actually not going to be Boots, which is, again, great for me. I make the pivot onto Mesprit, but I don't really have great switches to this thing at this point. Can't really pivot into something like Klefki and get up Spikes or anything like that. As Kilowattrel's going to come out, U-turn, as I believe I do U-turn myself, maintaining initiative, showing that this boots Bramble Gas, which is really nice to know. And from here, going to be able to get off a decent chunk of damage with either an X's or a U-turn. I forget which one I click. I do click U-turn as X's would have just knocked it out. And Paladin's going to come in, just keep taking a bunch of damage at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and Drain Punch, knock off this Empoleon from 35% or whatever it was at. I forget exactly. As a Bramble Gas is going to come in, I do Terra Electric here. I don't think I necessarily need to, but I don't think it hurt anything. Poison Jab is going to go ahead and knock this guy out. Tauros is next, showing to not be Intimidate, which is a very smart bring, so that I don't get a Guard Dog boost. I do just click Poison Jab here, 30% chance to poison, even without the, boost is great. They do end up Trailblazing here, which makes sense so that they're faster than the rest of my team, and close combating, so they are +1/+1, but thankfully we did save the Bramble Gas. If they want to save this, that's fine, it's essentially dead because hazards are up. If not, I'm going to pick it off with the Shadow Sneak. Out comes Kilowattrel. It does Brave Bird and pick me off, but from here, after that Brave Bird, a little bit of tick damage. Even if they don't Terra, I can X-Scissor here. I would have knocked out a flying type that could resist Kilowattrel with X-Scissor. It's a strong move, and we don't have to risk missing Stone Axe, which is really nice. Kleavor put on another clinic. Okie dokie being very, very strong in his own right as well, and we're able to take home a nice 2-0 victory, moving us on to, I believe it is top 128 in the tournament. As we did go 2-1 in positive. So despite the Rye loss, we were able to do pretty good there. So yeah, let's jump on to the next one. Alrighty, here we are in top 28 against Yuramas here. Once again, playing a Terra Hisui Gudra, as well as a Toadscroll, Tornado's Eye, which I do not have a great switch into show. The Toxapex, Gallade, and a Zoroark, which is always going to be annoying to play. Let's see the team that we ended up bringing in this matchup. We are going to be, once again, Terra Electric Okidogi. Wow. Crazy stuff. One, it gives us a Torn Resist, which I really don't have a great one for, being that my Flying Resist gets OHKO'd by Grass Knot, especially after taking up Leak Wind. So we are Drain Punch, Bulk Up, Thunder Punch, and Taunt. Pretty offensive. Thunder Punch is also really nice with Terra Electric in order to break through something like Pex really well. The combination of Drain Punch, Thunder Punch is really powerful in my opponent's team, so that's obviously great. Taunt is nice for Pex, who's trying to either Toxic us, trying to haze us, trying to recover up, whatever it may be. It's basically just a Pex slot. And we have a lead Zangoose. Zangoose is really strong with this team. It's not very fast. So the combination of Facade, Knockoff, and Quick Attack is really powerful. We could have gotten close combat, but in scouting with my other game against Gudra and looking at my team in general, I think Terra Ghost is very likely. So going close combat would make me absolutely walled by a Terra Ghost Gudra. So I went Knockoff because +2 Knockoff OHKO's that guy or does a ton of damage. And if it ends up not being that, and I need to Facade it for whatever reason, Facade does a ton of damage to Terra Steel Gudra as well, especially a +2. Zangoose is very strong. Do not sleep on that guy. Then we have a Colbur Berry Messer. This is max defense to switch into the likes of Gallade. We are Colbur Berry for Night Slash, which is obviously really nice. Covers Zoroark as well, which is great. We could D-Gleam, Thunderwave, U-Turn, and Healing Wish. Healing Wish, get another Okidogi, get another Zangoose. Next up, we have a Bramble Gas. We are AV in this game with Wind Rider. I believe we have enough both taken Air Slash. I'm pretty sure Air Slash is not covered by Wind Rider. I could be wrong. I don't remember. It's been a while since I played this. But we're Power Up, Poltergeist, Shadow Sneak, and Rapid Spin. Pretty simple. It's actually, again, a very strong Pokemon. Its dual stabs go absolutely crazy. Then we have Scarf Kleavor. Who would have thought? X-Scissor, Stone Axe, U-Turn, and Close Combat. Simple stuff. And then lastly is Rhydon. We're actually a Double Dance Rhydon. We can find the opportunity to either SD against the Fat or Rock Polish once something like Toadstool is gone. It's actually a really powerful Pokemon. My opponent does not switch into Rhydon's dual stabs very well outside of the Toadstool. So if we can KO Toadstool, we're going to be in a pretty good spot. Alrighty, that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We do see that they are Terra Ghost on the Hisui Gudra, so all good things to know. We're going to lead our Zangoose, as unfortunately Gallade is going to lead too. This puts me in a pretty uncomfortable spot. This could have been Zoroark, but I don't really have a mid-ground play into Zoroark. If it is, we are still Colbur, so we will take one hit, but it is also, and then from there we can pivot to Okidogi, whatever it may be, and deal with the Zoroark in that regard, or pivot to a Kleavor, but I didn't want to switch in hard on a Sacred Sword on Kleavor. I didn't want to switch in hard on a Psycho Cut on Okidogi, so we kind of have to make the Mesprit play. Thankfully, it is just Gallade, so Psycho Cut doesn't do that much. We're going to get off a nice U-turn into this Toadscroll, doing 32%, which we will take. Kleavor's going to be out next, and again, we can kind of just put this guy in the blender, click another middle U-turn. Gudra's going to come out, take a little bit of damage as I get Zangoose and I pop my orb. Now right here, what this does, it kind of forces this Terra Ghost potentially in case we want to close combat it and blow it up that way. I know I can live any hit from this thing, so I am going to go ahead and SD up. And from here, Knockoff is unbelievably powerful. There's not much to switch in. I could have been a dog and just facaded raw, but I didn't think it was worth it because I could just facade afterwards. if they weren't Baneful Bunker. So unfortunately, we are going to go ahead and go down right here. I knocked off expecting the Goodra anyway, so I think it's fine. I get a free switch to my Okidogi though, so not the end of the world. We're going to get a bulk up, and again, because we're very bulky in the amount of health we get back from Drain Punch, I'm actually going to just Drain Punch. I should be faster, which is a little bit unfortunate, if anything, because now I don't get as much recovery back as I would have otherwise, but I guess it's fine being that I didn't kill, because then I would have had to kill twice, and 2 Earth Powers does more than 1, so either way is fine. I'm going to go ahead and taunt right here, and I'd like you to notice a very silly turn from me. I saw Pex come in. I immediately thought, okay, it's coming in to try and haze me. I'm confused to why it would be doing that. What came in was Zoroark. It's at 100%. Pex was at 40 when it switched out. You can see right here if I hover, 40%. This next turn, Showdown won't tell me it now because it doesn't want to give away information, you know, unjustifiably or, you know, against, yeah, it doesn't cheat for me, right? Unfortunately, I wish it would. It comes back in at full. Now it doesn't say Pex at 40. He's going to pivot out there. If that was Psychic, I did just lose my Okidogi. And if I tear it into Dark Pulse, I did just lose my Okidogi pretty much. Pretty low. If it's like Spec Zoroark, would have blown me up. Thankfully, we catch the Gallade coming in, get into our Mesprit, click a nice little U-turn. Out comes Okidogi, and we're just gonna go ahead and go ahead and bulk up right here. I didn't want to Terra because if they Toxic to my Terra, it's pretty bad. Out comes Torn, and now I am forced to Terra. They Focus Blast, they do miss. It wouldn't have done the most damage in the world anyways. Thunder Punch is going to knock this out. Now I can be a little bit more offensive with this Okidogi and really do some damage right now, just because I do have the Healing Wish in the back. They actually revealed to be a Willows variant as I Thunder Punch, get a nice little pair right there. And you think that burn is pretty bad. It is, for sure, but it's not the end of the world, per se. As out comes the Goodra, I'm going to try and Thunder Wave it just because it is kind of optimal to do so. I know I live any hit from this thing, and I'm going to Healing Wish right after this anyways. As I do miss, unfortunately, they picked it out of the Gallade to block the Thunder Wave, but this is a nice Healing Wish, and I know this is Wisp, so I'm just going to Thunder Punch. Knock it out. We're fast because of the Para, so Para was pretty lucky, right? Out comes the Zoroark, and I'm a dog here. Now, this time, it would have been Pex at full after the regen it had. So I had no reason to expect this to be Zoroark other than a gut read, because the gut Toxapex just does not beat me, right? If I taunt it, it just doesn't beat me. So I didn't have a confirmation that it was like I thought I did, but I kind of had a confirmation since like Pex isn't coming out because I taunt it and then bulk up and literally win the video game because it can't Toxic me, it can't Baneful Bunker, it can't get a poison on me, so it would just be kind of wraps. And I get to play right, and I just Drain Punch, and I knock it out. So very, very nice. Okoing the Zoroark. We got the first play wrong on it, but hey, second time, we were ready to go. Out comes Goodra itself. I know I can just bulk up. This thing can not really hit me super hard, even with an Earthquake, only doing 32. From here, it's just about getting off as much damage as possible. If I can kill this thing, my Rhydon does just win the video game, because nothing Pex can do can Oko Rhydon. So that's obviously very, very nice. I am going to go ahead and click Thunder Punch one more time. Won't kill this thing, and the Goodra will 1v1 me, which is a little bit annoying, but not the end of the world, because at 10%, this does die to Kleavor U-turn. I always just U-turn, and then I go into Rhydon, and I can click Earthquake a couple times, and kind of just wrap it up, right? It does Baneful Bunker here. It would have been a raw to Sword Stance, but if I got crit my Surf, I could have lost, whereas getting a guaranteed Earthquake off does kind of seal me the game, so we're going to do that instead, as Baneful Bunker does pop once again, but it's kind of delaying the inevitable at this point, as we do end up just winning with big Rhydon. Yeah, that's gonna be us moving on to, oh, excuse me, wouldn't be an OG Albino movie if you didn't yawn in the middle of it. That's gonna be us moving on to top 64. So let's jump into that. All right, next up we have yet another Draft League GOAT in Shuckle 15, Professor Shuckle, Darkrai, whatever you want to call him. Another guy who's been on the scene for so long. I've known him for a while. He's a great guy, very, very solid player. With a ton of accolades, and it's always fun getting to test yourself against good players. You played Bry and now him. It's pretty cool for a low tier tournament. Usually it's just kind of people I don't know, which isn't a bad thing. And I say don't know isn't like, you know, they're not worth my time, but like it's cool playing against, you know, people you know are very, very good players. He has a pretty interesting team here. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of slept on it initially. I didn't see the vision. In Terra Shaman, in Cobalion, Swampert, Sableye, Braviary, and Salazzle. Lots of S names, jeez. So lots of scary things to note. Shaman in particular, very, very annoying for our team to switch into. But I do think there are some teams that are pretty exploitable with this team that I was hoping to, or that I am hoping to take advantage of here. First up, we have Terra Okidogi. I think it's very strong here. We are just a bulk up 3 attack set, very offensive in this game, but we are bulk up, Drain Punch, Poison Jab, and Knockoff. Terra Dark serves 2 purposes. One, it gives us a nice little boost on the Dark Stab from Knockoff, but 2, it makes us immune to Sableye, not letting it Encore us, not letting it Will-O-Wisp us, whatever it may be. We can kind of shut that guy down, potentially set up all over him, which is really, really nice. Then we have our Kleavor here. We are Choice Scarf. Wow, who'd have thought? I'm not gonna hold you, gang. This game already happened, and I just realized that I'm Sheer Force and didn't click down enough. We are Sheer Forced Kleavor. Big, beautiful, wonderful. How great is that? That Egg Scissor is going to be decently strong. No, it's not. Literally none of my moves. Oh my gosh, my Stone Axe wouldn't... Oh my gosh. Live realizing that you're stupid. Anyways, we're supposed to be Sharpness. Typical Kleavor stuff, right? Nothing too crazy. We have Specs Intellium, which I think is incredibly powerful here. If you look at Shuckle's team, the only water resist he has on it is Shaman, and Shaman is going to basically have to Terra at some point, right? Whether it be in front of Kleavor, whether it be in front of Okidogi, things of the sort. And until then, we can kind of U-turn around, get into guys like Kleavor, keep up offensive momentum, and once it does Terra, we can just click Hydro Pump and things will die. Next up, we have Mesprit here, Citrus Berry, pretty offensive for Mystical Power, Healing Wish, U-turn, and Dazzling Gleam. Healing Wish to get a nice second Kleavor, Inteleon, Okidogi, whatever it may be. Mystical Power is really nice for his fatter things like Swampert, things like Shaman, being able to boost up, do a ton of damage alongside them. Dazzling Gleam is really just to hit that Sableye. Yeah, decently strong Pokemon. Then we have a Yachi Berry, Bramble Gas here. Just to pivot into Swampert a little bit better. Power, Poltergeist, Shadow Sneak, and Spikes. Good Spiker in this game. We don't have Spikes on our Klefki, which is our last Mon. That is going to be a Double Dance variant. I think this Pokemon's actually really, really powerful. The only thing that super stops it is going to be like Roar or Pert, as well as a potential like Encore Sableye, but it's hard for Sableye to switch hard in on it. Salazzle's a bit of an issue as well. We either have to be super boosted, which I don't think he's going to let us do, or we have to eliminate the Salazzle. But if we can do those things, I do think that it's a very solid win condition. Alright, that being said, let's jump into it. We do see that the Terra typings in this match is going to be Terra Ghost on the Shaman, which is pretty annoying. Our Okidogi is Dark, which is nice in that regard, but I don't have a Ghost Resist on this draft. I don't have a Ghost Immunity on this draft, or on this team. We have Zangoose, but Zangoose gets blown up by Seaflare, so it's not like it switched in great to it. I do lead Inteleon because I want to put on some initial immediate pressure on this team into things like Cobalion lead and things like that, into leads like Salazzle, whatever it may be. I do see a Swampert. I end up clicking Surf, and this shows to be like max Spadef AV as it knocks off my Specs, and we're already off to a little bit of a tough start. We get off a decent bit of damage here as a Flip Turn does come out as I go into my Mesprit. A little annoying, not the end of the world. Out comes the Shaman. We do force it to Terra, which is nice. So it does open up Inteleon a little bit more, but it opened it up a little more if we had our Specs, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, Terra Blast is going to do a ton of damage to us, but I don't really have a switch in, so I decided to just U-turn out, get a little bit of offensive initiative, get an Okidogi, and just click a Terra Dark knockoff. They end up staying in, just going for a Seed Flare. That's fine. Unfortunately, it does show to be Colbur Berry, and makes that Shaman absolutely eat up that hit. We can Healing Wish that guy back later, or set up on Sableye still, so I do decide to switch. Stone Axe comes out, as I do set up my Stealth Rock. I must have changed it. No, I think I did change it before. Maybe it's like I played this on my laptop or something like that, or like I saved the team or something, because Sheer Force would have prevented me from getting up rocks. So I definitely was Sharpness in the game. I'm not that stupid. Yeah, because Sheer Force would have prevented me from getting up rocks. So we're fine. Do a ton of damage there from 52 with the Stone Axe there. Out comes the Cobalion. I am going to make a double into my Inteleon. Try to force some progress. Click a nice little Hydro Pump. But man, Swampert is bulky. Unfortunately, there's not enough to 2-hit KO that guy with a Hydro Pump from there, as I am going to be forced out into my Bramble Gas. Not the end of the world. Swampert is going to be forced out into Braviary, as I do just click a nice little Spike there. I'm going to pivot on to Klefki, as this is going to be my main check. It does show to be Defog Braviary, which is pretty unfortunate. Good bring by Darkrai, as I do just click a Dazzling Gleam, as the Shaman is going to be the pick of choice. I get out immediately into my Kleavor, as it does synth up right here. Try to get up my rocks again, just click Stone Axe. It does show to be a physically defensive Rocky Helmet Sableye, and because I die to Rocky Helmet, I actually don't get on my rocks because the effect isn't like clear because I die before then. I'm going to go into my Okidogi, just click Knockoff, do 50% to this guy, make it lose its helmet. And in my mind, I'm like, cool. I can just kind of set up in this guy's face and put myself in a good position, not thinking that it doesn't have to be Knockoff or Foul Play. It could just be Nightshade. And it's unfortunately going to take me out from there. Out comes Inteleon. I am just going to go ahead and click a nice little Hydro Pump. Unfortunately, we do miss. Would have been nice to get that KO there. Swampert is going to come out and be the sack instead. Down it goes, which is obviously nice, but it's not like we're in a great position to win, per se. Out comes Salazzle, showing to pretty much guaranteed be a Choice Scarf variant. Otherwise, we would just stay in and blow that guy up. I'm going to get out into my Brambleghast. Out comes the Braviary. I try and spike up here, force a little bit of progress. They do just Brave Bird, knock out my Inteleon, realizing they don't really need to defog the spike away. And I'm going to get out into my Klefki. Try and start setting up, at least, as it does close combat. Does a decent little chunk of damage here. As I have to be careful about allowing in the Shaman here, which can be really, really unfortunate. We do Dazzling Gleam, and again, in hindsight, I think another big issue with this build is that I wasn't Draining Kiss in this instance. Like, Draining Kiss lets me get back a ton of health in these instances. It also lets me 1v1 a lot of things a little bit easier, stay healthy enough for Salazzle to not just, like, beat me. As they do defog this upcoming turn, getting rid of that spike, which is nice. And again, I'm always kind of in a position where I need to make sure I'm not Encore fodder for that Sableye. Maybe a couple of the Calm Minds and, like, Draining Kissing up would have been nice. And possible for us to win this game, but unfortunately Salazzle is just going to come out. It's going to overheat. It does kill. The crit didn't matter. It's overheat, right? So I'm at 44. I'm like 99% sure I end up dying to that. I don't think that was a rule or anything like that. I go into Brambleghast. They Power Whip. I Poltergeist on the Sableye, which has lost his item. He's going to Encore me into that, showing Encore is the last, and I'm just going to forfeit. Again, no like BM or anything like that. Talk to him after. I just lost the game, right? There's no reason for me to sit there and Encore as he switches around, things like that. I think I just got outbuilt this game, to be honest with you. It was definitely a frustrating one. I was very, very upset with myself after, because I think I did have a good matchup. I really do think I did. I think I was close to a proper team concept, but I think I got outbuilt and just outplayed. But I very much so got outbuilt, and Darkrai was able to move on. I'm not quite sure how well he did in the tournament. Hopefully he ended up doing well. I like losing to the guy that ends up winning the whole thing. In the Ghosting tournament, actually, the one that we uploaded a couple months ago, the team that knocked out us and that actually ended up winning the tournament. So that's always a good thing, right? When you lose to the best. You know, that's always a plus. But fortunately, we are going to drop this one. Going to lose this one. 4-0 pretty convincingly to Darkrai, and that's going to be the end of our run. But I thought our team was pretty cool. I think it was cool to showcase Kleavor, that I think it is a really strong Pokemon, that people just, you know, kind of give it a little too much flack, especially in low tier. I think it's really, really powerful. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy this movie, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as sub to the channel. On our way to 10K, need your help in reaching it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.